I never thought much about my house key. It was a simple thing, an old worn key that had hung on a hook by the door for as long as I could remember. But one evening, as I came home from work, I noticed something strange. The key wasn't there. I paused in the hallway, staring at the empty hook where it should have been. My stomach tightened, but I shrugged it off. It was just a key, after all. Maybe I'd misplaced it. Maybe I'd left it in the car or somewhere else. I ran my hand through my hair, trying to ignore the unease creeping up my spine. But then the next day came, and the key was still missing. I searched my coat pockets, checked the kitchen counter, and even checked the laundry basket. Though I knew it wasn't there, I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, but I couldn't shake the nagging feeling. It had to be somewhere. I called my sister, Claire. She was the only person I could think of who might have seen it. We hadn't spoken much recently. Life, work, and the usual daily grind had put a distance between us. But she was my sister. We'd always been close. She would know where my key was. "Hey Claire, have you seen my house key?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, but the slight tremor in it betrayed my growing anxiety. "Oh, no," she replied a little too quickly. "Haven't seen it. Why? What's up?" I brushed off her response, pretending I didn't feel the unease curling tighter in my chest. "No reason. Just thought it might have gotten mixed up around the house. I'll find it. No big deal." But the unease didn't go away. The next morning, I had a thought, a horrible, nagging thought. What if Claire had taken the key? It didn't make sense, not at first, but the more I thought about it, the more the idea started to settle into my mind. She'd been acting a little strange lately. She was distant, always too busy to catch up when I called. And then, there was the fact that we'd had that strange argument last month, when she seemed so defensive, so quick to make excuses when I asked about her plans for her finances. I had brushed it off then, but now, I spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting. Something felt off. Claire was the only person who could have taken the key. Why would she take it, though? What was she hiding? It was a small thing, a key. But to me, it felt like the first sign of something much larger, something I wasn't ready to face. By the time I got home, I had convinced myself I was just being paranoid. It was just a key, right? I tried to shake off the feeling, but it wouldn't go away. I walked into the house and immediately checked the table by the door again. Still no key. I felt my heart sink. That night, the unease I had been trying to push down boiled over into a full-blown sense of dread. Something was wrong, something I hadn't yet discovered. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I heard a quiet sound from the back of the house. My phone buzzed, and I saw a text from Claire pop up. "Hey, I was wondering if I could borrow a couple of things from your place this weekend. I need them for something I'm working on. I'll be there in the morning to grab them." Something about the text hit me wrong. She was being too casual, too nonchalant. Borrow things? What things? I stared at the message for a long moment. Was she in my house already? Why the urgency? And why had she stolen my key in the first place? Suddenly, everything I had been feeling, the small moments of doubt, the strange behavior, the growing distance between us, came rushing back, settling in my chest like a stone. That night, I decided I would confront her. I didn't know what was hidden inside my house, but I knew something was off. The next morning, I woke up early, the weight of the previous day still pressing heavily on my chest. I grabbed my coffee, trying to shake off the feeling of dread that had settled in me. There was something about that text from Claire that didn't sit right, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. By the time she arrived at my house, I had already decided what I was going to do. I wasn't going to let this go. My suspicions had been growing, and if there was something she was hiding, today was the day I was going to find out. I opened the door when I heard the knock, my heart pounding as I forced a smile. "Hey, Claire, what's up?" "Hey," she grinned, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I just need to grab a few things. I'll be quick." She tried to brush past me, but I stopped her before she could enter. "Wait, Claire, about the key." Her eyes flickered, just for a second, but it was enough to make my stomach drop. She was caught off guard. "The key?" she asked, trying to sound casual, but the hesitation in her voice made me suspicious. "Yeah, I've been looking everywhere for it." "You wouldn't happen to have it, would you?" I asked, forcing my voice to remain steady. My hands were shaking, but I kept them by my sides, trying not to give away how much her behavior was unsettling me. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes darting to the floor before meeting mine. "No, I haven't seen it," she said quickly, almost too quickly. But there was a nervousness in her voice now, and I could see her mind working as she tried to figure out her next move. I stepped aside and let her in, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't getting the full story. As she walked into the living room, I followed her, silently watching her every move. Her hands were trembling slightly, and she was avoiding eye contact more than usual. "You know," I said, trying to keep my tone light, "I find it odd that you'd need to come over and borrow things without even asking. And that text you sent last night, it sounded like you already had access to my house." Her head snapped up at that. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Something defensive, almost panicked. "What do you mean? I'm just trying to help you out. You've been busy, and I thought I could just grab a few things for you. It's nothing." The way she spoke, the way her voice cracked, sent a chill down my spine. She wasn't making sense, and I wasn't buying it anymore. "Really? So you don't think it's weird that you've been sneaking around my house, taking my things, and hiding them? Is that what you think is helping me out?" Claire froze. The silence stretched between us, and for a moment I thought she might deny it all, but she didn't. Instead, she looked down at her feet. Her shoulders slumped. I didn't think it would come to this," she muttered, barely above a whisper. My heart pounded as I slowly walked toward her. "Come to what, Claire? What are you hiding from me?" I could feel the air in the room shift, thickening with the weight of her guilt. She looked up at me, her eyes wet with tears. "It's not what you think." Her words hung in the air, heavy and thick with uncertainty. I was waiting for her to explain, to tell me the truth, but she seemed to be holding something back, something important. "You took my key. You've been in my house, going through my things without my permission. Why?" My voice was steadier now, but it didn't stop the tremor in my hands. I wasn't sure if I was shaking from anger or fear. She let out a long breath, and for the first time in weeks, I saw her as the vulnerable person I hadn't realized she'd become. She hesitated for a moment, and then her words came tumbling out in a rush. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I needed to borrow something. But then I found something I didn't want you to know about." I froze, not sure whether to push her further or let her explain. "What did you find, Claire?" Her eyes flickered to the hallway, and I followed her gaze. I knew then. I knew what she was hiding. I turned toward the hallway, feeling the blood drain from my face. I couldn't breathe. I was already standing there, at the door to the spare room, and as I looked at Claire's tear-streaked face, I knew I had to see what was behind that door. What was she hiding in there? I took a step toward the spare room, my heart pounding in my chest. Claire was still standing there, watching me, her face a mixture of guilt and fear. She opened her mouth to say something, but then closed it again, unsure of what to say. Her silence spoke volumes. As I reached for the doorknob, I glanced back at her one last time. "Claire," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is in there?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward, her hands shaking as she reached out, trying to stop me. "Please don't go in there. You don't want to see it." But it was too late. The door opened with a soft creak, and the sight that greeted me made my stomach drop. The room, once a quiet, unused space, was now filled with boxes, bags, and stacks of items. Things I didn't recognize, things that didn't belong to me. I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the room, my mind trying to process what I was seeing. There were shopping bags, designer clothes, jewelry, and several boxes stacked high in the corner. Everything had labels on it, items that were far beyond what Claire could afford on her own. The piles were meticulously arranged, as though she had planned this for a long time. I turned to face her, my mind racing. "Claire, where did all this come from?" My voice was shaking now, but I couldn't stop it. The shock was overwhelming. She stood in the doorway, her eyes downcast, unable to meet my gaze. I didn't mean for it to get this big. At first, it was just one or two things, but then I got caught up. I thought you'd never notice. You were so busy, and You stole from me?" My words were sharp now, cutting through the tension that had built up between us. "Is this why you took my key? To hide all this in my house?" Claire winced as if the words stung, but she didn't try to defend herself. She didn't even look at me. I didn't steal it, not exactly, she murmured, as though trying to justify her actions. What does that mean? Not exactly. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister had been using my house as a storage space for her stolen items, and she was trying to act like it was no big deal. I was just trying to make things better for myself, Claire said, her voice barely audible. I've been struggling for so long. I've been trying to get out of debt, trying to make something of myself. But every time I tried, I felt like I was getting nowhere. Then I saw how much you had, how easy everything seemed for you, and I thought maybe if I had some of those things, I could be like you. I could have it all too. I shook my head in disbelief. So you decided to use me? To steal from me and hide it in my own home? That's your plan to make things better? The words left my mouth before I could stop them, a mix of anger and betrayal filling my chest. Claire didn't speak at first. She just stood there, staring at the floor, her tears falling freely now. I didn't want to hurt you, I really didn't, but I was desperate. I thought if I could just borrow a little, just take a little bit of what you had, I could fix everything. I didn't think you'd ever find out. I stepped forward, my hands trembling as I reached out to touch one of the shopping bags. It was a designer purse, something that cost more than I made in a month. My mind was spinning, trying to process everything. How could she do this? Why would she do this? She was my sister. I trusted her. This isn't just about money, Claire, I said, my voice breaking. This is about betrayal. You've been sneaking behind my back, taking things from me without my permission. And now you want me to forgive you because you were desperate? She nodded slowly, but I could see the fear in her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I didn't know how to stop. I looked around the room again, the weight of the betrayal settling in. Everything in that room, every piece of stolen luxury, represented the shattered trust between us. She wasn't just hiding things from me. She was hiding a part of herself, a part of her life I had never seen, never understood. I turned back to her, the anger still simmering beneath the surface. You took my key, Claire. You took something that was mine and invaded my space. And now you've lied to me. How long has this been going on? Claire opened her mouth, but no words came out. Instead, she just looked at me, her expression one of complete and utter regret. How long, Claire? I demanded again. My voice hard now, my patience wearing thin. A year, she whispered, barely audible. It started a year ago. I didn't know where else to turn. I thought maybe if I could get a little more, just enough to cover the bills, enough to get by, I could start fresh. But I kept taking more and more, and I didn't know how to stop. A chill ran down my spine as the weight of her confession sank in. A full year of betrayal, hidden right under my nose. How had I been so blind? The silence that followed Claire's confession was suffocating. I stood there, staring at her, as the words she had just spoken echoed in my mind. A year of betrayal. It was hard to comprehend. How could she have done this to me? How could my own sister keep such a secret from me, let alone steal from me for so long? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. My mind was racing, but I couldn't focus. I needed answers. I needed to understand. You're telling me that for the past year, you've been coming into my house, taking things and hiding them from me, I asked, my voice colder than I'd intended. All because you thought you could fix your own problems? Claire nodded, her face pale. She didn't try to defend herself any longer. She just stood there, waiting for me to react. She knew what was coming. I never meant for it to go this far, she repeated. I was just so tired of always being the one who was struggling. I watched you, and I thought maybe I could have what you have, be successful like you. But instead, I just made everything worse. And now I don't know how to fix it. Her words were filled with regret, but that didn't make the situation any better. She wasn't just confessing to stealing my things. She was admitting that she'd destroyed our relationship in the process. She had betrayed my trust. She had taken advantage of me. I don't know what to say, Claire, I said, my voice shaking now. I don't know how to process this. You took my key. You violated my privacy. And now, I find out that you've been lying to me, hiding things from me, for a year. Claire flinched, As though my words physically struck her, I saw the tears welling up in her eyes again, but this time, I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. She didn't deserve my sympathy. You knew what you were doing, I continued, my anger rising. You knew that what you were doing was wrong. You chose to keep taking from me. You chose to lie and keep hiding things, even when you knew I trusted you. How could you do that to me? I didn't think you'd notice, Claire whispered, almost too quietly to hear. I thought if I kept it all hidden, you'd never know. And then maybe I could fix everything without anyone finding out. I shook my head in disbelief. You took advantage of my trust, my home. You thought you could hide it all and just get away with it? Claire looked down, her shame clear in her posture. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to be this person. But I just kept telling myself it would be okay. I didn't want to be the screw-up anymore. I wanted to be like you. The words stung, even though I had heard them before. Claire had always struggled with self-esteem, with her place in the world. But this wasn't the way to fix things. She had betrayed me, and no amount of regret could undo what she'd done. You want to be like me? I asked, my voice trembling with frustration. Then why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you come to me for help? Why didn't you just ask for support? I would have helped you, Claire. I would have been there for you. But instead, you decided to steal from me, to hide it all behind my back. Her shoulders shook as she sobbed, and it was the first time I saw her truly break down. I didn't want to burden you. I thought you'd judge me. I didn't want to disappoint you again. I thought this was the only way to make things right. The words hit me hard. I thought you'd judge me. That was the heart of it, wasn't it? Claire had always felt like she couldn't measure up, like I was the perfect one, the successful one, while she was always falling short. I realized now that her jealousy, her resentment, had built up over time, and it had driven her to do the unthinkable. I wanted to scream. I wanted to lash out, to make her feel the pain she had caused me. But instead, I stood there, rooted to the spot, feeling a sick sense of betrayal wash over me. I had been wrong. I had trusted her. And that trust was now shattered. Claire, you don't get it, I said, my voice quieter now, but no less angry. I don't care about the stuff you took. It's not the material things that hurt me. It's that you thought you could go behind my back. You thought you could take everything I worked for, all the while pretending nothing was wrong. That's what hurts. She wiped her tears, trying to regain some composure, but it was too late. The damage had been done. I'm sorry, she whispered again, but the words felt empty now. I turned away from her, my back to her as I walked to the door. I couldn't look at her anymore. The trust was gone. The bond we once had was broken. I can't do this, Claire, I said softly. You've crossed a line. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and final. As I stepped out of the room, I heard Claire call after me, but I didn't turn around. The door had closed between us. I spent the next few days in a fog, unable to focus on anything but the betrayal. Claire's confession played over and over in my mind, like a broken record, and I couldn't escape it. How could she do this? How could my own sister, the one person I thought I could always count on, betray me in such a way? The house felt empty without Claire's presence, but the silence was strangely comforting. I had spent years building my life, my home, and now I felt like it had all been turned upside down. My trust was broken, and I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't even look at the things she had hidden in my house, the designer purses, the jewelry, the boxes of stolen items that were supposed to remain unseen. I felt disgusted. It wasn't about the money or the material things. It was the fact that Claire had crossed a line that couldn't easily be undone. After a few days of restless nights, I finally decided to take action. I couldn't keep living with this weight on my chest. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed to confront her again, but this time, it would be different. It wasn't just about understanding what she had done. It was about making a decision that would determine the future of our relationship. I called Claire. The moment I heard her voice, the flood of emotions came rushing back. Claire, I said, my voice steady but firm. We need to talk. I need to know what you're going to do about everything you've taken. The items in the spare room, the key. You can't just walk away from this. There was a long pause before she spoke. I know, she whispered. I know I can't just walk away. I've messed everything up, but I don't know how to make it right. I took a deep breath. This was it. I had to make the decision, whether to keep her in my life or cut her off for good. Claire, I don't know if I can forgive you. What you've done is unforgivable. You've betrayed my trust, and I don't know if we can go back to how things were, but I'm giving you a chance. You need to fix this, and you need to make it right. She choked back a sob. I will. I swear. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll return everything. I'll fix everything. I'll make it right, I promise. I could hear the desperation in her voice, and a part of me wanted to believe her. But could I? Could I really trust her again? I don't know if I can believe you, Claire. You've lied to me for so long. But I'm willing to see if you can prove yourself. If you can make it right, then maybe, just maybe, we can find a way forward. Another silence stretched between us, but this time it didn't feel as heavy. There was a sliver of hope, however small, that we could rebuild something from the wreckage. But I wasn't ready to forgive her just yet. Trust takes time, and right now, she had none left. I'll be watching you, Claire. You've lost my trust, and I don't know when or if that will come back. But if you really want to make amends, you have to show me, not just tell me. Actions speak louder than words. She agreed, and we ended the call with a simple promise. She would return everything she had taken, and she would work to prove that she was sorry. I didn't know if she could ever make up for what she had done. I didn't know if I would ever fully forgive her. But for the first time since everything had happened, I felt a small sense of control. This was my decision to make. As I hung up the phone, I stared at the empty space in front of me. There was still so much I didn't know, still so many questions I needed answers to. But for now, I had done what I could. I had made my decision, and I would stand by it. It had been a week since the conversation with Claire, and in that time, I'd done my best to keep things normal, at least on the outside. But on the inside, everything still felt broken. The house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a battleground. My mind kept returning to the betrayal, and I found myself questioning everything. How had I not seen it? How had I let her get so close without realizing what she was doing? I spent most of that week trying to focus on work, distracting myself with my responsibilities, but the weight of it all lingered. I had no idea whether Claire was truly making an effort to make things right, but the more time passed, the less certain I became that she would. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell rang. I didn't expect Claire, not yet. She'd promised to return everything she had taken, but I had been preparing myself for the possibility that she might never follow through. When I opened the door, there she was, standing on the threshold, her eyes red from crying. She held a large box in her hands, and for the first time since all of this started, she looked genuinely remorseful. I've returned everything, she said quietly, her voice low and steady. I know it's not enough. I know I've ruined everything, but I'm trying. I really am. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her, feeling the familiar ache in my chest. Was this real? Was she really trying to make things right, or was this just another act? She stepped forward, holding out the box toward me. I've taken everything back to where it belongs. The clothes, the jewelry, the bags, everything. I didn't want to leave anything out. Please take it. It's the only thing I can do to try to make up for what I've done. I hesitated, my gaze flickering from the box to Claire's face. There was a part of me that wanted to slam the door in her face, to cut ties and walk away from her for good. But there was another part, an uncomfortable, nagging part, that told me to listen, to give her a chance to show that she could change. I took the box from her, the weight of it heavy in my hands. It wasn't the physical items that mattered. It was the gesture, the effort to return what she had stolen, the attempt to make amends. Why, Claire? I finally asked, my voice barely a whisper. Why did you do this? Why did you think it was okay to take everything, to hide things in my house without telling me? She bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes once more. I thought I could fix everything. I thought that if I just took a little bit at a time, no one would notice. But I got caught up in it. I thought that if I could have what you had, maybe I could be happy. But I see now how wrong that was. I see now how much I've hurt you. I never meant to. I stared at her, trying to process her words. The pain, the betrayal, the loss of trust. It all hung heavy in the air between us. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said quietly, feeling the weight of the decision I was still wrestling with. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, but I appreciate that you're trying. That's more than I expected. Claire nodded, wiping her tears away. I understand. I've lost your trust, and I don't expect you to just give it back to me, but I will work every day to show you that I'm sorry. I'll do whatever it takes. I stood there for a moment, holding the box in my hands. I didn't know if I could ever move past the betrayal. I didn't know if I could ever forget what she had done. But I also knew that cutting her off entirely, never speaking to her again, wouldn't solve anything. We were sisters. And even if I couldn't forgive her right now, I wasn't ready to sever that bond forever. I'm not saying I forgive you, Claire, I said, my voice steady but firm. But I'm willing to see if you can prove to me that you're really sorry, that you're really changing. Claire's face softened, a faint, almost hopeful smile tugging at her lips. I'll prove it to you, I swear. As she turned to leave, I stood in the doorway, watching her walk away. The box in my hands felt heavier now, not because of the material things inside, but because of what they represented, the broken trust, the shattered bond, and the uncertain road ahead. But for the first time in days, I felt a small spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope? Maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild what had been broken. It's been a few months since that day when Claire returned everything, and I can't say everything is perfect. I don't think it ever will be. Trust, once broken, is never the same. But I've learned something along the way. I've learned that people can change, but only if they truly want to. And I've learned that some mistakes, no matter how big, don't always mean the end. Claire has kept her promise. Slowly but surely, she's been showing up. She's been honest, no longer hiding things from me. I see the effort she's putting in to rebuild what we had. It's not easy, and I still struggle with doubt at times. But there are moments when I see the sister I once knew. One afternoon, I was sitting at home, going through some old boxes when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Claire. I've started my own business, and I'm doing it the right way this time. I've learned a lot from what happened, and I just wanted to tell you how grateful I am for your forgiveness. I smiled at the text, feeling a mixture of pride and relief. Maybe we couldn't erase the past, but we were building something new, together, in a way. The road hasn't been easy, but I've realized that forgiveness doesn't always mean forgetting. It doesn't mean everything goes back to normal. Sometimes it just means allowing space for growth, for healing, for learning from the mistakes we've made. And for the first time in months, I feel like I'm not carrying the weight of the betrayal anymore. It's not about moving on. It's about moving forward. I've learned how to protect my peace, how to guard my heart, and how to trust again. It's not easy, but it's possible. As for Claire, she's proving to me, day by day, that change is possible. It won't be perfect, but I've decided to give her the chance to show me that she can become the person she was always meant to be. And I'm stronger than I've ever been. My life is mine to create. I've learned the hard way how important it is to protect what's mine, not just my belongings, but my peace, my boundaries, and my heart. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead to the greatest growth. And that, I've learned, is the real gift.